Have you ever wondered why every time you're genuinely honest with a girl, she suddenly starts acting cold? Why is it that when you text her constantly, show care, and take the initiative to do everything right, instead of getting closer, she starts to disappear? It's not because you're not good enough, it's because you're being too eager. And this is the mistake that almost every man, including me, including you, has made at least once in life. In this video, I'm going to show you why being overly eager kills a man's attraction, and how you can make her feel drawn to you without having to chase her. Stay until the end, because after watching this, you'll never look at women or yourself the same way again. Welcome back to the channel. I'm H, and if this is your first time here, this channel is about everything every man should know. Understanding women's psychology, self-improvement, making money, building your image, and becoming the most attractive version of yourself. Today, I want to talk about a mistake that seems small, yet causes countless men to lose their chance with the woman they truly like. It's the mistake of being too eager, acting too fast, too soon, too much, before she's even had the chance to feel anything. You see, when a man likes someone, he's often like a sudden burst of flame. He wants to text right away, ask her out right away, and prove how much he cares. But that very rush is what makes a woman lose curiosity, lose excitement, and slowly pull away. So why does that happen, and how can you stop being the one who chases, and instead become the one she slows down for to catch up with you? Let's begin. Before we go deeper, be honest with yourself. When you meet a girl who makes your heart race, what's the first thing you do? You look for her on Instagram, watch her stories every day, think of ways to message her, and then nervously wait for her reply. If she doesn't respond, you start getting restless, staring at your screen, maybe even typing new messages just to keep the conversation going. That feeling, I know it very well, because I used to be just like you. I used to think that if I took more initiative, showed more care, she would eventually feel my affection. But I was wrong. Women don't respond to the level of your effort. They respond to the emotional value you bring. When you're too eager, you send an unconscious message, I need you to feel complete. And at that exact moment, she senses that your energy comes from neediness. Women have an incredibly sharp intuition. They don't need to hear you say I like you to know it. The way you text, the way you react, they can feel it all. If you always reply within 5 seconds, always start every conversation, and always ask questions while she only responds half-heartedly, then you've already placed yourself in the role of the pursuer. And a man who starts chasing too early always loses in this game. I'm not saying you shouldn't show interest, but there's a very thin line between liking and needing. A man who likes a woman but doesn't depend on her, he sparks her curiosity. But a man who needs her response to feel validated, he exhausts her. Remember, emotions are like cats. The more you chase, the more they run. When you're too eager, you're chasing. When you're calm and confident, you're creating space for her to move closer. And this is the mistake that 99.99% of men make. Not because they're not smart, but because they don't realize that women aren't drawn to instant passion. They're drawn to a man's self-control. Real attraction isn't about how much you text. It's about whether you can stay composed and do nothing when things go quiet. Because in that silence, your value is measured. She starts to wonder, why isn't he acting like everyone else? Is he busy? Or just confident enough not to prove himself? And that right there is, when attraction begins, women don't walk away because they don't like you. They walk away because your energy doesn't make them feel safe. When you're too eager, you unintentionally send out a sense of urgency, a lack of control, and in their minds, that triggers a subtle warning signal. They don't consciously think, he's too pushy, but deep down, their intuition says, I should keep my distance. They're afraid of getting pulled into a man they don't yet understand, afraid of being overwhelmed by emotions that feel too intense, too soon. Because women are emotional beings, but they don't want to be consumed by someone else's emotions. They want to feel, to be drawn in on their own terms, not dragged in by force. When you bombard her with messages, confess too early, or make her the center of your world, you take away her right to be curious. She no longer has space to imagine, to wonder, to explore you. A woman's feelings grow in ambiguity, in the quiet moments of uncertainty. But when everything becomes too fast, too clear, the emotion dies prematurely. Think about it, what remains exciting if you already know the ending? Women fall in love with imagination before they fall in love with the heart. When you reveal everything too soon, you unknowingly rob her of that. She needs time to observe you, to see how you react, to test if you really are who she thinks you are. And when you are patient and calm, you give her the sense that you have nothing to prove. That's when she starts to feel safe, intrigued, and gradually drawn in. On the other hand, when you're too eager, you make her feel like you're trying to convince her, begging for her attention, and that unconsciously lowers your value in her eyes. Because women perceive energy, not words. A high-value man doesn't need to say, "I'm confident," she can feel it through the way he doesn't try too hard. But an overly eager man reveals that inside him is fear, the fear of loss masked by excessive effort. And that's exactly why women pull away. Not because they're cruel, but because they sense that kind of energy can't lead them. They want a man strong enough to control his emotions, confident enough not to be swept away by someone else's. And then, when you keep being too eager without realizing it, everything starts slipping out of your hands. She grows distant, texts less, takes longer to reply. The conversations turn cold, and you begin to feel uneasy. You open your phone, stare at the word seen with no reply, and start asking yourself what you did wrong. You text more, ask more questions, even try to joke around just to get her attention back. But at that very moment, you're digging the hole even deeper, the one that makes her want to leave faster. Because in a woman's eyes, a man who loses control of his emotions is a man she cannot trust. And nothing kills attraction faster than losing your composure. When you're too eager, you don't just make her feel pressured, you destroy the image of the attractive man, the one she's supposed to be curious about. Women are drawn to calmness, to that quiet confidence that says, he knows exactly what he's doing, not to constant messages or overflowing attention. The truth is, the more a man tries to prove himself, the more a woman senses that something is missing inside him. And women have a natural instinct. They're drawn to the man they have to win emotionally, not the one who begs for their attention. Being too eager is when you put her at the center and place yourself on the outside. But here's what you might not realize: it's the stillness, the control, and the right amount of distance that make her think about you when you're not around. Attraction doesn't come from being there all the time. It comes from her feeling your presence even in your silence. Imagine this if you are a flame. Being too eager is like throwing all your fuel in at once. It burns bright and fierce, but dies out quickly. The attractive man, on the other hand, is the flame that knows when to burn, how to stay warm, and how to make others want to come closer without getting burned. So, if you've ever been left behind, ever been seen but not replied to, ever felt like you gave everything but got nothing in return, stop and ask yourself, did you give too soon, too much, too fast? Women don't need 1,000 words from you. They just need a man who knows how to control his energy. And it's that calmness, that steadiness, that makes you stand out. Because in a world where everyone is rushing to prove themselves, the man who chooses silence is the one most worth wondering about. When you learn not to react too quickly, you regain emotional control. When you stop being too eager, you regain your value. When you stop chasing, she starts noticing you. Remember, you don't have to chase anyone to be loved. You just have to stand in your place, and the right person will walk toward you. There's one thing most men never realize: the harder you try to be loved, the more distant you make others feel. She doesn't leave because you're not good enough. She leaves because she can feel the fear inside you. The fear of rejection, the fear of not being enough, the fear of losing your chance, and that very fear is what kills your attraction completely. Women are not drawn to men who need love. They are drawn to men who already have love within themselves. When you know your own worth, when you live a fulfilled life, when you focus on growing yourself, your energy naturally changes. You no longer need to prove anything because everything around you already speaks for you. A truly attractive man isn't the one who texts the fastest or talks the smoothest. He's the one who stays calmest in the room, the one who can look at the woman he desires, smile, and still remain in control of his emotions. He doesn't need to be overly eager because he understands that if she's truly meant for him, she'll find her way to stay. And if she leaves, he remains the same. He doesn't lose his value, nor his composure. That's what every woman truly seeks: a man who makes her feel at peace, not one she has to comfort in return. Because when you can stay calm in the face of temptation, you prove that you don't just want her, you've mastered yourself. And women are always drawn to that kind of strength, the strength of self-control, of emotional discipline, of a man who knows who he is. Remember, being overly eager is the reflex of a man who fears losing, while patience is the instinct of a man who understands his own worth. Today, if you're chasing someone, or don't send another message just to fill the silence, step outside, focus on your work, your goals, your body, your passion. Every time you do that, you're taking back control of your emotions. And something strange will happen when you stop chasing. She'll start to feel your absence. When you fall silent, she'll start to miss you. When you stand still, she'll start moving closer. Because true attraction doesn't come from running faster than others. It comes from staying grounded while everyone else is rushing. A man with real strength doesn't need a woman to feel valuable, and precisely because of that, he becomes irresistibly attractive. Remember this: women don't fall in love because you say the right things. They fall in love because they feel at peace around you, and peace only comes when you stop being too eager. If you're hearing these words right now, take this as a message meant just for you. Stop proving. Stop chasing. Let your silence and your confidence speak for you. She will feel it. She will know you're different. This isn't about playing games. It's about mastering yourself. And once you truly master your emotions, you'll see it's not just women, but the entire world that becomes drawn to you. And if you've made it this far, maybe you're starting to look at yourself a little differently. You realize that, perhaps in the past, you've been too eager, you've texted too quickly, confessed too early, and thought that by showing everything you felt, she would understand. But the truth is, the more you chase, the further you push her away. The more you try to prove yourself, the more you make her feel that you don't believe in your own worth. So if you're in that situation right now, stop. Take a deep breath. Don't try to say anything more. Be silent. Focus on yourself. Focus on your life, your goals, and on becoming a better version of yourself every single day. When you do that, you'll see that the people who truly deserve you will find their way to you. Because real masculine attraction doesn't come from words, it comes from the calm, grounded energy of a man who has nothing to prove. And if you've ever felt tired, unappreciated, or thought that you're not attractive enough, remember this: you don't need to change who you are, you just need to learn how to control your emotions. When you know when to stop, when to stay silent at the right moment, when you understand that love doesn't need to be fought for but nurtured, that's when you become the kind of man a woman wants to stay with for a long time. Because she may smile at many men, but she only feels safe next to the man who can stay calm. And if you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with other men who might also be struggling to find the same answers you were looking for. Because who knows, maybe just one small video could help them stop at the right moment and find themselves again. Thank you for watching until the end. Remember, don't rush. Stay calm. Because when you master the rhythm of your emotions, it's not just women who will be drawn to you, the whole world will move in your direction. See you in the next video.